Hey guys, Max here, and I'm in beautiful San Diego right now. It's amazing. It's really sunny. The weather is really good, and look at that view. It's like you can see the sea from here, from where I'm staying. It's really awesome here. I was coming down here for like 3 days to get some dental work. That's why I got like the puffy cheek. I got like a dental procedure in my mouth done like 2 days ago. But then I stayed longer because I just loved it so much. So yeah, it's really amazing here. Really amazing city. I've been all the way to Asia to go to some nice beaches, but it's surprising to see that you can just go down to California and there's some really awesome spots here. I wanted to make this video today because it's been 4 or 5 years I've been running my business, and I'm at the point where I'm probably gonna sell it this year. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about business models and basically just spending a lot of time sharpening your axe and really thinking about what kind of business model you have to choose in order to put that 4 or 5 years in and end up with tens of millions of dollars in revenue versus like 1 million or like less. And I've been drawing this funny parallel between the basically picking a business model and the whole pimp game. So basically, like pimps and hoes. And today I want to dive into that. But yeah, basically, what if you just watch this video with me today, I think what you'll get out of it is a very good mind map to know if a business model can make you very wealthy. Um, you know, all the way up to like Mark Zuckerberg wealthy, versus spending the same amount of time and just kind of rushing, and struggling for years to all the way all of that not to make much money at all. So I think it's really worth thinking about. So before I dive into some examples and get into the nitty gritty, I want to give you a little primer on this book that I've read by Mike Royale. It's called The Pimp Game, and it's a very interesting book because I think it's one of two books that have ever been written on the pimp game, like basically the manual for how to become a pimp. And it's like this thing, the pimp game, the pimp kind of manual. It's been like an oral tradition over like the last 100 years or so, where like there's been pimps going around, and they wouldn't like write about it. So I found it very interesting to read that book, and it's a long book, so I'm not gonna go into all the details, but I want to give you the general concept of it. In the pimp game, you have pimps, which are like the dandies with the nice cars and all the women working for them. And then you have the hoes that are working for the pimp. And then you have also something called the tricks, which are basically the host customers. And so one of the biggest things I got out of the book was like, I was, like maybe you were thinking like me, but if you were thinking like me, like if you had to guess like how much the hoe gives to the pimp in terms of the percentage of the money she makes, what's your guess? And for me, the guess was like, I don't know, like maybe like 50% or like something like that, right? And I was very surprised to learn that actually hoes, prostitutes that work for pimps, give them all the money, like 100% of it. And if they don't give them all the money, then they won't have the privilege to keep working for that pimp anymore. And then you might think like, well, there's like coercion, like they're forced to give them the money, and it's actually not true. They willingly give the money to the pimp, which is very interesting, and they actually pay a fee to have the privilege to start working for that pimp. So like I'm not gonna go into the psychology. It's a very interesting psychology, like of why these women will willingly do that. I'm not gonna go into that, but and you can go into that yourself and read more about it if you're interested. But think about that. Think about how crazy is that you can be that pimp, and you have all these women working for you, and you basically don't do anything. Like you're just that guy that I guess you give them like protection and like dad love, like all this stuff. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm very like objective about it. Like I'm just like looking at it through the lens of a scientist. I'm not saying you should be a pimp or not a pimp, or I want to be a pimp or I don't want to be a pimp. But looking through the eyes of like a scientist, it's like it's very interesting, And then the women, they willingly keep doing that. So kind of wrapping that loop here, and just keep that in mind, that this model happens. I'm gonna basically now I want to give you a story of a project that I've done over the last 2-3 years, and that's an example of like a hoe business model that I was involved in, and I'm gonna explain to you why it was a hoe business model. So yeah, 2-3 years ago, I worked like a year on developing an app called 3 Minute Meals, and it's like a food app. So it's like a nutrition app. So it helps you prepare a week of meals in 2 hours. So it's a great product. It's really like one of my dream apps. I really enjoy that product, and for myself. I worked a year on it, and I spent about like $10,000-$15,000 developing the app. And then I put the app on the App Store, and one of the first things I learned is about putting your app on the Apple App Store is they take 30% of whatever sales you make. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I learned is, since there's so many apps, you gotta basically, unless like you need some form of media to promote your app, because since there's so many apps, it's really hard to rank out of the gate, for like keywords, so that you get organic reach. So you're basically not going to get organic users, or you're going to get a little bit, but not much, So they have this service called search ads. So it's basically Apple promoting you at the top. So let's say a user like enters meal prep app. Well, the search ads, they allow me to go in front, like on top of everybody else, and then people can click on the app, right? So that's how it works. But then here's the thing, like, because of now these ads, they cost money, right? So on top of that 30% we have to give Apple for every sale we make, we also like give them about 30-40% of our sales in ad costs. So like for every time that we I make like a dollars in sales, $1 in sale. Then I give 30 cents to Apple for their commission, and then I give 30-40 cents in advertising costs, and I'm left with anywhere from 30 to 40 cents in profit, and that's if everything goes well. Like I could spend a lot more money on ads, a higher percentage, so that's interesting. So like think about that, okay? I make the app. I work my butt off to create an app that's original, that's useful, and then I put it on that store, and then these guys, they make most of the money from that, Very interesting. So I'm not angry about that, and I'm not pissed about that, but looking back with a more mature eye, I understand that in that situation, Apple is a super pimp, and I'm a hoe. You understand? Because I do all the work, and I get paid like a minority of the money, right? So it's not like I'm not a complete hoe. I don't give like 100% to Apple, but it's pretty close, And then Apple, like a super pimp, they can kick me out at any time, right? So think about that. I'm saying they're super pimp because they have like 2 million apps. So it's like they're this pimp that has 2 million hoes working for them. And I'm not criticizing the model. I'm not like criticizing here, and I'm not like being negative here. Please recognize that I'm not being negative. I think you can make a lot of money doing apps. Look at like models like Spotify, and these apps are making a huge amount of money with the App Store. So I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying recognize the model here. Recognize the model, recognize the game you're playing. Because you can make it by struggling. You can make it big by struggling your way to making it big. But you can also go the pimp way and make it really big by struggling a lot less, right? and that's, you get there by being that pimp. So other examples that I want to quickly give you, like another example is like pretty much all platforms, like Amazon, for example, they'll take 15%, and then like there's so many products that a lot of times you have to advertise. So that's another big percentage that is cut out of your profits. And of course you have to pay, you have to pay them for shipping, you have to pay them, all these little things, which is interesting. But like, yeah, that's the model for like most platforms, that where you as a producer, like the hoe, you have to go there and sell your thing, right? Another example that's out of the business world is government. Where I come from, the taxes are, if you make $100,000 a year, you're probably going to pay like $50,000 in taxes, if like that's income, like earned income. And then on top of that, there's a sales tax, so you're gonna pay like 15% on everything you buy. So again, here, notice that pattern. The government is taking most of your money away from you, and it's your money that you earn by being a hoe. Well, so like again, are you? Does that mean that I'm criticizing? No, that I'm not. I'm not criticizing taxes, but I'm just saying recognize that this is what's happening, right? So let's say you have like you have your app, so you're being the Apple's hoe, and then with whatever left money that the Apple pimp gives you, then you can be the government's hoe. So like, so think about that, right? And don't start being negative, and don't start being yeah, I guess don't start being negative about that, thinking about that, but recognize that. Like, tell yourself, like, am I being a hoe here? And if so, not necessarily I'm gonna get out of here because it's impossible to win being a hoe, but let me maybe think about a different business model where I'm the pimp, and ask yourself, like, how can you become the pimp, right? How can you create a platform where producers come to you and sell their service on your platform and make you a bunch of money, and you're in that position. And a lot of times we won't think of those ideas because they're scary. It's scary to be the pimp, and it's also like there's this thing where it's like, well, I don't deserve to be the pimp, So like, and that's a tough one to overcome. And I don't think I've overcame that one yet, but it's definitely something I'm going to work on and try to push toward like that next level, of setting up and choosing a business model that's really not easy, but where the cards are in my favor. The game is in my favor. Think about like being Mark Zuckerberg right now. Like, it took them a long time, but now they're like the most super pimp ever. They have millions of advertisers going to their platform to pay them thousands of dollars every month. They're making billions of dollars a year in ad costs. The users are not paying them any money. They don't have to advertise to nobody. They don't have to spend money on advertising. They just collect all the money. So yeah, I definitely like I would definitely recommend you start thinking about that. And I feel like I'm a bit rambling here, so I'm just gonna wrap this up. But yeah, if you think about that, and you have any ideas and you want to share some thoughts, leave in the comments, and I'll be able to answer you. But all right, until next one.